and welcome to another episode of Just Scare Us Already, the podcast where we discuss horror movies, both old and new, give our opinions, and continue to search for movies that can scare us. I'm your host Cheyenne with my co-host Dave.
Hey, everybody.
If you like what you hear, give us a like and a subscribe, and follow us on our socials down below. But for now, let's get into it.
Yeah, so this is our special Halloween episode where we're actually going to talk about the Halloween franchise. So
Shocker.
are just as we are just days away from October 31st or Samhain, Hoop You Na, or Day of the Dead, or just simply Halloween, less commonly referred to as All Saints Eve or All Hallows Eve. We ready ourselves for all the tricks, treats, and of course, scares of the season.
And we would be remiss not to include the movie series that has exemplified the season for decades. Of course, we're referring to Halloween. Yes, we know there has been endless debates as to which movies were the best and what storyline is the best overall. We are not here to end the debate exactly, although I think we have general opinions about it. But we are just going to give our take on the state of the franchise and what we thought about the initial films from director John Carpenter, at least the first two, because obviously once it gets to three, it's a mess.
Right.
Rob Zombie and the most recent David Gordon Green movies. Although the 1981 Halloween 2 was not directed by John Carpenter, we felt since it was written and produced by him, it still kind of fits it.
Yeah. So for this podcast, as I mentioned, as you mentioned, we're going to skip the films Halloween 3, Season of the Witch, Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers, Halloween 5, The Revenge of Michael Myers, Halloween, The Curse of Michael Myers, Halloween H2O, 20 years later, and Halloween Resurrection, as we felt these films were outside the scope of our discussion of the origin of the Michael Myers storyline. And needless to say, these 6 films combined only averaged a 29% critic score and a 38% audience score on Rotten Tomatoes. So I think that's enough said.
Jeez, I didn't even know that. That's
Yeah,
not surprising after I watched them all
all 6
again.
of those movies were major flops.
Yeah, they were not good. So I agree with it. Well, let's go ahead and get started then.
Yeah, definitely. So let's start with the first one.
John Carpenter's Halloween, 1978. Follows on a cold Halloween night in 1963, 6-year-old Michael Myers brutally murders his 17-year-old sister Judith. He was sentenced and locked away for 15 years, but on October 30th, 1978, while being transferred for a court date, a 21-year-old Michael Myers steals a car and escapes Smith's Grove. He returns to his quiet hometown of Haddonfield, Illinois, where he looks for his next victim. This one has an amazing 96% Rotten Tomato score, or critic score, and 89% audience score, which I would say I agree with.
Yeah, definitely.
But why don't you talk about number 2 so then we'll discuss John Carpenter as a whole?
Sure, yeah. So, as you mentioned, Halloween 2 was not directed by John Carpenter. It was written and produced by John Carpenter, but it was directed by Rick Rosenthal. After failing to kill stubborn survivor Laurie, and taking a bullet or 6 from former psychiatrist Dr. Loomis, Michael Myers has followed Laurie to the Haddonfield Memorial Hospital, where she's been admitted for Myers' attempt on her life. The institution proves to be particularly suited to serial killers. However, as Myers cuts, stabs, and slashes his way through hospital staff to reach his favorite victim. This movie, unfortunately, had a 33% critics rating and a 63% audience rating on Rotten Tomato. So, what did you think about these 2 films?
So I had to rewatch them because I haven't seen at least the first one in a long time, and I definitely didn't remember number 2 at all. I thought the first one was really good. It does a great job of building the characters in a way that I really cared about them. Although it's definitely a slow burn, which I feel like is kind of consistent with older movies. because it's kind of the same way with majority of the older ones I've been watching, is that they are really slow at the start to kind of showcase all the characters, and then gets really just into the killing. But I thought this one serviced it well because I cared about all the teens who died, even the ones who I was like, yeah, you should die. You're doing things you shouldn't be doing. I genuinely cared about them. It was really sad seeing them die. And so I thought it was really great. I thought Jamie Lee Curtis obviously did a phenomenal job as the final girl. The kids even did a really good job. I cared about Danny. Didn't care as much about Lindsay, but that's just because she was annoying. The second one, though, definitely slow and boring.
Okay.
I did not like it as much. What about you? Because you saw these in theater,
Halloween, the
I'm
first
assuming?
Halloween, I was probably 10 years
You're pretty
old.
young.
Yeah, so I don't think I actually got to see it in the theater. I think when I finally did see it, it was on, might have been on video, or maybe even no. By the time it came on regular TV, that probably was a while. Took a while, but yeah, eventually I did see it. I saw it as a teenager. I love the first Halloween. It's the original. I watch it every Halloween. I mean that movie plays on Halloween Day every year. Um, I kind of hate the fact that now, like with channels like AMC and Sci-Fi, they show it all month long. So
Yeah.
sometimes it's unavoidable to catch it on regular TV. But I still watch it regardless. It's created the slasher films. I mean, this movie basically was the catalyst and the blueprint for a lot of slasher films, including Friday the 13th and uh, many others that came after. I think a lot of films try to live up to the whole Halloween uh, formula. Halloween 2, I agree, wasn't too crazy about it. It felt like a money grab. Basically, they were trying to feed off of the success of the original Halloween. So
Hmm.
it didn't, to me, it didn't have the same feel, didn't have the same suspense and eeriness as the first one. This one was just basically, here's Michael Myers slashing and killing everybody that he can, just to get to Laurie. And then to get shot in the eyes and then pretty much blown up and set on fire. It was, to me, it was a good ending. It was okay. He's dead. That's the end
Yeah.
of Michael Myers. But then, of course, we had several others to come afterwards, which just never really explained anything. But yeah, I,
Hmm.
I definitely agree with the Rotten Tomato scores. Number two wasn't as good as the first.
No, I think it was a nice try at giving Lori a chance to fight back, basically.
Hmm. Hmm.
From the, because Loomis saves her at the end of the first one, so this one's now her chance to try and take on Michael after he's chasing her down. But I do agree. I think that the first one, I mean, it was just Michael trying to get to his house, killing people on the way, basically, and babysitters
Hmm.
specifically. But then for him to be chasing down specifically Lori, I didn't really like that because
Hmm.
it didn't have any reasoning behind it. Like, unless it was, well, no, because it wouldn't really be like just hide his identity or anything. Everyone knew who he was.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
They explain it in number two that Mike, that Lori was Michael Myers' sister, and
oh, that's
apparently,
right.
yeah, and apparently, she visited him while he was in the,
Oh, that's right. Yeah, as a kid,
yeah, as a
that
kid,
was the
the
slow
mental
part.
institute. So he had an agenda, which to me kind of felt, you know. I think the first one, the way they did it, I don't think there was any intent on Lori being his
No.
sister. I think it was just basically, like you said, he escaped the mental institute to go home, and he went home and decided, okay, now I'm gonna focus on these random teenagers, and I don't know if it's because they said something to him when he was in the car, and
Mm-hmm.
the one girl says, "Speed kills you, freak," or whatever, whatever she says,
Yeah.
and so maybe that pissed him off, and he was like, "Okay, I'm gonna kill you now."
Yeah, I kind of wish that they showcased if like Judith was mean to Michael, or even that Lori maybe looked like her. Like if they had hired Jamie Lee Curtis to play Judith,
Hmm. Hmm.
um, when she got murdered, and then he comes back and obviously sees someone who looks exactly like his sister. That I would have forgave a little bit more. I would have been like, okay, that makes a lot of sense for
Hmm.
him chasing her down. But sadly, that never happens in any of them. So
Yeah,
but
yeah.
yeah, definitely felt like a bit of a money grab. It didn't feel as obviously money grabby as the future ones in the John Carpenter Halloween series.
Hmm.
But it did feel like someone at the studio said, "Hey, we really want a second one," and John Carpenter was like, "Here, I'll write it up for you. Do what you want with it.
Yeah.
Not mine." You know.
Yeah, definitely. And I think John Carpenter was also a little bitter because he felt like he didn't get his just rewards for the success of the original Halloween.
Oh, did he not?
No, there was a whole issue with he never really got paid the royalties and the money from the
Oh.
success of Halloween, and it was rumored that he was supposed to direct Halloween H2O, and but he wanted the sky, and they basically said,
Mm.
"Nah, no, we're not going to
Not
do
doing
that."
that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a shame. But oh, there's something I was gonna say and I can't remember.
All right, so I think with the original Halloweens, we can agree that Halloween one was the best
Yes,
of the two. So let's talk about
definitely.
Rob Zombie's Halloweens.
So, Rob Zombie Halloween 2007, nearly 2 decades after being committed to a mental institution for killing his stepfather and older sister, Michael Myers breaks out, intent on returning to the town of Haddonfield, Illinois. He arrives in his hometown of Halloween, of hunting down his younger sister Lori. The only thing standing between Michael and Halloween night and a Halloween night of bloody carnage is a psychologist, Dr. Samuel Loomis. Unsurprisingly to me, this one sits at 25% critic score and 44% audience score. Uh, so, what about number two for Rob Zombie?
Yeah, so just a couple years later, Rob Zombie decided to take his stab at, pun intended, Halloween 2. So, a year after nearly escaping death at the hands of Michael Myers, Laurie Strode is at the breaking point, pushed to the edge by Dr. Loomis's revelation that she's Michael's sister. Little does she know the unstoppable killer is back in Haddonfield and driven by visions of their dead mother. He is determined to bring about a bloody family reunion. This one also didn't do very well. Got a 28% critics rating and a 59% audience rating on Rotten Tomatoes. So, pretty bad numbers overall. So, what
I
did
will
you
say it's
think about?
surprising to me.
Mhm.
It's surprising me that number two got a higher rating overall than number one, because I thought
Yeah.
number one was the better of the two. I'll
Hmm.
say that much. So after watching these, I decided to watch all the Rob Zombie movies because I just wanted to know his artistic style. And I will say I'm not
Hmm.
a huge fan of it. Very grotesque, very gratuitous and vulgar for, in my opinion,
Hmm.
no reason. I
Hmm.
will say though, for the first one, I was surprised because I'd seen it a long time ago, and I was surprised how much it really did kind of keep to the original. It had a lot of the same beats in it, which I appreciated.
Hmm.
However, I did enjoy personally a little bit more how this one did a little bit more with his background, Michael's as a kid, his abusive stepfather, his mother who loved him but was going through her own stuff, his rude sister, and then him in the mental institution and clearly being like a genuine psychopath instead of
Hmm.
just a kid who randomly killed his sister and then
Right.
going from there. So I did enjoy that. I really liked how that built to it. I liked the actors in the movie as a whole. Um, so I thought that Scott Taylor did a really good job as Laurie Strode, and Malcolm McDonald is a great actor altogether. I also really liked that Michael looked intimidating. He was a big figure. He was a big guy. And so it
Hmm.
was much more of like, yeah, that's an intimidating figure no matter what. And then having I believe Danielle Harris who was in the originals? Well, the number 3 as Jamie.
As Jamie? Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. The
I was
daughter.
yeah, it was sweet to see her back
Hmm.
playing a new character. I thought that was a really nice touch, and she has grown to become a really great actress from when she was a kid in Halloween 4 and 5.
Right.
So that was really nice to see. But number 2, very stupid, very dumb. I hated the visions. I hated the psychic thing with his mother telling him what to do, and that whole storyline was just so dumb.
Yeah.
So stupid. And I don't know why that one has a higher score at all.
Yeah, totally agree. The first Halloween, Rob Zombie's first Halloween, I also liked the fact that they dealt more with Michael's as Michael Myers as a youth. Kind of showed he was already heading down that slippery slope of being a serial killer. You know, because they always say it starts with pets and then
Mm-hmm.
random animals and so forth, and it evolves. So that definitely um, helped the story. It kind of gave Michael a character, but you know, the original, like you said, he basically just randomly kills his sister. And when his parents get home and they rip off the mask, here's this cute little, 10-year-old who you
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't think could hurt a fly. Whereas in the Rob Zombie version, the character took more of a demented kind of look and didn't understand the consequences. It showed that
Mm-hmm.
he was doing this stuff, but didn't understand why he was doing it or what the consequences were for what he was doing. And so when he wound up in a mental institute and the mother kept promising, you're going to come home soon, you're going to come home soon. And then eventually it turned into, you're never coming home, you're going to stay here forever. He went into this dark place and started
Mm-hmm.
making the masks. And that also kind of helps the story why he felt the need to wear a mask. He
Yeah.
didn't want his life anymore. He wanted to be behind a mask. So yeah, it definitely worked, had a good story, followed a lot of the same script as the original, just more modernized. But yeah, number
Mm-hmm.
two, I still don't understand why they even bothered making that version. I mean, it was horrible. I agree that the visions of his mom on a white horse and all this other stuff. I'm just like, okay, Rob Zombie is now taking it beyond what it needs to be.
Yeah. I think they probably gave him a lot more freedom maybe with the second one to do his
Hmm.
vision after the first one. Well, no, the first one flopped, so I don't know why they would, but I don't know, maybe they're just like, do what you want, basically. And he
Yeah.
said, oh, okay, I'm gonna do what I want.
All right. I think maybe it was contracted. Like, okay, I'll make this first one, but I get to make a second
Oh,
one. They're
maybe,
like,
yeah.
okay, yeah, sure.
Maybe, because yeah, the first one really good. Honestly, like outside of the vulgarity of some of the parts, I thought was unnecessary.
Hmm.
Just like the crude language and stuff, I didn't think was necessary. But all in all, I did really genuinely enjoy the movie. I thought it was, like I said, really well done. All the actors were really good in it. I still cared about all the characters, which surprised me a little. But the second one, yeah, just a whole different take. And I noticed that a lot with some of his movies is he'll either go pretty good, like Lords of Salem was a decent movie. It actually wasn't too bad. But then
Hmm.
you'll have things like 31, which is just an absolute stupid movie of gratuity for no, like it's absolutely horrible. The other ones I can at least say, yeah, it's a decent watch, but that one was god awful.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
he's a very odd character, I guess, when it comes to
Oh
making
yeah.
movies.
And
But I
and
would say, go ahead.
not to even mention his take on the Munsters.
Did not watch it. That was the one I
Oh,
did not see because I
that
like
was
the
such a
monsters in
flop.
general. I did not want to watch that version of it.
I tell you one
Um,
thing though, he definitely keeps his wife employed.
he does, and he keeps a lot of people employed. Actually, a lot of
Yeah,
the
yeah. A lot of
actors
the
are
same
all
actors are in.
repeated,
Hmm.
and I kind of like that. I think that's kind of cool that he has his little gang of misfits. I would say who he employs for his well,
Yeah,
like in a good way. They all are very specific types, and I think that it's kind of sweet to see how he does that. It's very similar to like Ryan Murphy, who tends to hire the same cast for a lot of his projects.
yeah.
Um, but
Or
yeah,
like,
so
what's his name?
Adam Sandler,
That Adam Sandler from Saturday Night Live.
yeah.
You know, he likes to employ a lot of the same actors. So yeah, I guess it's easy to
Well,
work with people you like and know.
exactly. And know that
Yeah,
they are going to not fight you on your vision, probably,
right.
and let you kind of do what you want. But I would say Rob Zombie's Halloween, the first one, I think it deserves a higher score than it got on Rotten Tomatoes, honestly. I think that it's a good movie. Like I think it's a
Okay.
very interesting and good take on the original. If they had taken the parts about Michael Myers as a kid and had put them into John Carpenter's, I think
Hmm.
that would have been an even better movie.
Yeah.
Just because I enjoy learning about the killers and their storyline, but I understand that not everyone does, and sometimes these kind of movies they just want a killer who's a killer and a story. So
Exactly. Exactly. Give me a brief background, and then let's get to the killings.
okay, so I'm ready to. I like the psychology of it. But going into the newer ones, which are technically not really a reboot, but a relaunch of the series,
Re-envisioning.
David
Yeah.
re-envision. Well, no, I guess it's kind of relaunch though because they're relaunching into the same story of the first two,
Not
or the first one
necessarily.
at least.
Yeah. Yeah.
The first one, yeah, maybe not the second one because they take out the sister thing.
Hmm.
But David Gordon Green's Halloween from 2018, 40 years since Laurie Strode survived a vicious attack from crazed killer Michael Myers on Halloween night. Locked up in an institution, Myers manages to escape. Big surprise there. When his bus transfer goes horribly wrong, Laurie now faces a terrifying showdown with the masked madman returns to Haddonfield, Illinois, but this time she's ready for him. Sits with a 79% critic score and a 72% audience score on Rotten Tomato.
Hmm.
And what about number two?
Yeah. And so then, as we were told when the first one came out, that David Gordon Green had a trilogy, that this was going to be a trilogy. So the number two is Halloween Kills, released in 2021. It takes place minutes after Laurie Strode, her daughter and granddaughter Allison, left masked monster Michael Myers caged and burning in Laurie's basement. Laurie is rushed to the hospital with life threatening injuries, believing she finally killed her lifelong tormentor. But when Michael manages to free himself from Laurie's trap, his ritual bloodbath resumes. As Laurie fights her pain and prepares to defend herself against him, she inspires all of Haddonfield to rise up against their unstoppable monster. The Strode women join a group of other survivors of Michael's first rampage and decide to take matters into their own hands, forming a vigilante mob that sets out to hunt Michael Myers down, and once and for all end the evil. This one got a 39% critic score and a 66% viewer score on Rotten Tomatoes.
So yeah, Halloween ends 2022. This is Laurie Strode's last stand. After 45 years, the most acclaimed, revered horror franchise in film history reaches its epic, terrifying conclusion as Laurie Strode faces off for the first time against the embodiment of evil. Michael Myers in a final confrontation unlike any captured on screen before. Only one of them will survive. 40% critic score and 57% audience score, which I will say completely valid. Honestly, should have been lower. I really hate the third one. So there's a
Mhm.
spoiler for you. I hate the third. Honestly, I didn't like any of them. I thought the first one was unnecessary. It was kind of cool to see Laurie be like so affected by her complex PTSD that she basically ruined her whole life with her daughter and her chance with
Mhm.
her granddaughter because she was so obsessed with this guy. And I think that if this is going only off of the first one, I think it's really interesting that she thought Michael would be coming for her eventually. Like, very much thinks she's something great. No offense to her, but like, if it's after the first one, it should just be like a random killing. But for her to think like Michael's gonna come after me, which is the only reason I think it's after the second one, would
Mhm.
make sense since he did come back after her. But if it's after the first one, it's just a little, I don't know, I find it a little odd that she thinks he'll be after her. But I do like that it showcases what that kind of trauma can do to a person and the obsession that can come from it, only for it to actually happen. I liked most of it. I liked Allison. I liked the daughter, Karen, I believe. What's her
Uh,
name?
yeah, I think it was Karen.
And then I liked all the teen friends, the not so great boyfriend. I like that it explored kind of what Halloween or what Michael Myers did to the entire town of Haddonfield, Illinois.
Mhm.
However, I thought that after the first one, not necessary. The second one with this whole visual anti group to get all the old people from the older movies, minus Tommy, who was then just replaced, having them all come back with this evil dies tonight thing
Yeah.
was really just stupid. And I mean, I understood like mob mentality. This entire city has been, or this entire town has been haunted by Michael Myers. And now he's back and he's killing everyone again. So they're like really serious about destroying him. I understood that, but I just thought it was a little much. And then the third one, which isn't in the synopsis, but this whole, no, I'll let you talk about the first two first before I go into my rant about number three.
No, I agree again. I think you and I both have the same feelings about this version. Besides the fact that the nostalgia of it, having Jamie Lee Curtis back,
Mm-hmm.
reintroducing Tommy and the little girl that she was babysitting
Lindsay.
in the first one, Lindsay, bringing them back. It was all cute and nostalgic.
Mm-hmm.
To get rid of the whole she's Michael Myers' sister, I was fine with.
Yeah.
But after that, hated this entire series. I think David Gordon Green and the writers ruined the movie, ruined the legacy of Halloween. Um, I
Well, I think number three ruined the legacy of Halloween.
well, number three definitely killed it. Pun intended. But yeah, it just basically it just took on a premise that to me just felt dumb. I get it; it's a small town, uh, but in all honesty, Lindsay and Tommy didn't really deal with Michael Myers. I mean,
Yeah.
it was all Laurie Strode. The people that he killed, okay, I could see it affecting their families, and maybe it put a bad stigma on the town. Oh, this is the town that Michael Myers lived
But
in
would
and
it?
killed people. But would it
This is
affect
my
people
thing.
that much?
Exactly. But this is also my thing. Looking at now, like even to 2024, Haddonfield, Illinois is known as the Halloween town city,
Hmm.
which granted, very upset that you never took me to it while we lived in Illinois. A little rude, but anyways, there's Bastrop, Texas is known for Texas Chainsaw Massacre. They do an
Hmm.
entire thing around Halloween and around just general October, I believe. The Scream in the movie Scream, that entire town embraces uh, what's his face? Whiteface? No, Ghostface. Ghostface.
Ghostface. Hmm.
They make it a thing. Like I feel like a town, especially a small town, would not hide from it. Like if it was publicized, especially nowadays, because this is supposed to be like modern, they
Right.
would be parading the Michael Myers mask and the Michael Myers trope
Right.
around every Halloween to make money. It wouldn't be stigmatized. I mean, even if it stigmatized the town, and obviously there's trauma for people, I still feel like a city or a town, especially a small one, would try to use this as a tourist bait no matter what.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree with that. I mean, when you use the examples like Texas Chainsaw Massacre and Scream, those were all fictional
Well, in Scream, it was the movie
events.
in the movie canon that the
Oh,
town started
the
to
actual
wear the
town.
masks. And yeah, remember, like they would, ooh, this is the town of Ghostface.
Yeah.
Salem does all their Salem, Massachusetts stuff for Salem witch trials, which wasn't a good thing.
Right. True. True. Yeah, I agree, and so I just felt like this town was wallowing in self pity for
For 40
no
years.
necessary reason. Yeah, it was just like,
Also, and
why do you feel so tormented?
the first one wasn't, I mean, it was a massacre, I guess, but it wasn't like that much of a massacre for it to be 40
No.
years of holding on to this, especially when, at least at the time, they didn't know Michael was out. They thought Michael was in prison still.
Hmm.
So for them to be still holding on to this and meeting on Halloween and doing these speeches, it just felt so like, dang, get a life. No offense.
Yeah,
Like, no offense to anyone who has trauma out there, but
it definitely felt unnecessary. And then, like you said, for Lori to hold on to this, I mean, I get it. It's PTSD.
mhm.
She lived through it. She saw her friends. She didn't see them, but her friends
Well, she
died.
found them dead.
Yeah. So it was hard. It was shock, but for her to keep sitting around for 40 years saying he's going to come back, he's coming to get me, he's coming to
Yeah.
get me, it's just kind of like, well, maybe in her head she rationalized it as that. But I just did not like this series. I mean,
No.
the
And
second
maybe it would
one.
have,
Go ahead.
sorry, I was just going to say, maybe it would have worked if Michael had vanished after the first one in this
Hmm.
storyline. And then he was just out there. For Lori to
Hmm.
be this obsessive for 40 years saying he's going to come back, but for him to be institutionalized and her to still feel that way for 40 full years,
Hmm.
I mean, come on, girl. 5 years, sure. 10 years, maybe. But 40? Now you're
Yeah.
just now you're just somewhere else mentally.
Right. Yeah. And then number two, just Halloween Kills. It just kept continuing with the whole town thing, and oh, evil dies tonight, and we're gonna be a vigilante mob, and we're gonna hunt them down like Frankenstein. I'm surprised they didn't have torches and pitchforks.
Yeah.
you know
It was
yeah.
stupid. And then I'm sorry, but spoiler, I guess, if you haven't seen it yet, but for them to think that scrawny little tiny guy in the inmate outfit in the hospital was Michael Myers, the 7 foot figure or 6 foot something figure, this little
Hmm.
man limping around, that was the stupidest thing I've ever seen. I understand mob mentality, but like no one looked and said, nah, that does not fit.
Right.
That was so dumb and frustrating and stupid.
Yeah. Yeah. It wasn't well thought out. The story was just, I mean, I shake my head every time I think about this series because it just, to me, it was awful. I was surprised Halloween Kills had such a high audience score. I mean, to me,
Yeah.
it wasn't good. It was just horrible.
Yeah, but then going into 3,
Yeah.
Halloween Ends. Thank God it ends because this movie was two different movies in one. It was a romance, which was stupid, and it was a Halloween movie, which was even stupider.
Hmm.
Because I'm sorry, this storyline, I'm spoilers, I guess. I don't care for this one at all. So if you haven't watched it, I guess go watch it. But I would say don't waste your time. If we were rating these, this would be further than a thumbs down, Kitty. This would be a devil emoji. I don't know what. This movie should not exist because I'm sorry. And it could, and this is what frustrates me. It could have been okay. There could have been another way to do it than what they did. But what they did was Michael Myers being a demon of some sort. Let me pull my mic closer dramatically. A demon of some sort who passed on this demonic BS to a random kid who was basically what you would picture for like a school shooter, to be honest.
Hmm.
The picked on
Hmm.
kid, the nerdy kid, the one who becomes an incel for Laurie's granddaughter, Allison.
Hmm.
He gets this demon put in him, so now he wants to be a killer. It was the stupidest thing in the whole world. And then him being obsessed with Allison and Allison having her little emo moment with him, being like, "Oh my god, we're gonna be together." It's so dumb. I I saw this in theaters with you, and I'm so sad it was the movie we saw together, but also happy because we were able to talk about it after watching it. But oh my god, was it just like aggravatingly dumb?
Yeah.
That's my
Yeah.
rant.
This, I think they could have ended it with the second one.
Oh, for
Uh,
sure.
they could have left us in the dark whether Michael lived or died. This one felt like we're gonna pretend like we're about to spin this off into a new franchise. We're gonna have a new Michael Myers, and that didn't happen.
I think
And
they would have if it didn't flop so badly.
well, I mean, yeah, unless, well, the spoiler alert, the guy dies, so
How
he
does the kid?
couldn't
Oh, he
he
does. He
yeah,
does.
he
That's
couldn't
right.
become the next Michael Myers
That's
unless he, how many times did they
has a
kill Michael
demon in
Myers?
him.
Yeah.
Exactly. They had to chop his body.
Yeah, the tortured, bullied kid syndrome. I get it. He was blamed for a murder or accidental death that he didn't do. Um, so the town already blackballed him that on that, and then he was bullied. So for him to find Michael Myers and wants to emulate Michael Myers. I get, but yeah, the whole
Yeah.
thing with him looking into Michael Myers' eyes and they have some type of weird connection, and all of a sudden Michael doesn't want to kill him. Michael wants to be his mentor. I'm just like, what
So
is
stupid.
going on? And that
Which
whole love story thing,
oh
that
dumb.
could she throw herself at him any harder? And he was not a good looking guy.
No, and I mean, granted, okay, I was one of those kids in school who probably would have. I wouldn't have gone for him, but I would have gone for the troubled kid, the bad boy. But granted, I would have gotten over it within 5 seconds of him talking about anything he said. I would have been like, "You're dumb. You're annoying. Get out of here." But I would
Right.
have been that girl. I was in love with the villains. I get it, but like, dang, girl, he's certifiably crazy, like Bonnie and Clyde style. But granted, she already didn't have a good track record with guys because the guy she dated in the first one was an a-hole. So
Yeah,
says a
but
lot.
I mean,
But
she
still,
threw
it was
herself at him in the
absurd.
hospital while he's
That's
getting
true.
his hand stitched up from a broken
Hey,
bottle.
she went through a lot of trauma, so maybe she was like, "Ooh, a broken man, a literally
I need
broken man.
somebody.
I need that." She probably hangs around the hospital looking for them. She's like, "Where's the teenagers?" But
and
it was
and how it went from we just met to I'm ready to leave Hattonfield with
live
you.
my life with you. What? I'm so annoying. Anyways, and I think that they could have done it decently if Michael Myers had been dead or dying. Let's say this kid found him. He obviously wanted to emulate him because he had a bad life, yada yada yada, was an outcast like Michael Myers was. Took the mask and just became a new version of Michael, but
Hmm.
obviously not as good. That would have been fine. That would have been a decent storyline. It would have been like, okay, Michael Myers is gone. This kid wants to emulate him, learns the hard way. It's not what you want to do. Dies at
Right.
the end. Cool. Great. But for Michael Myers to then come back super strong because he's some sort of freaking demon, fight Laurie, it's
Yeah, it's like
exhausting.
the kills, the 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 kills that the new guy did energized the old
Yeah,
one.
fed him.
Yeah, yeah. So it was worthless as a storyline to finally kill Michael. I felt no sense of yay, good for you, you finally
No,
killed
it was
him.
like,
It was
finally,
just
thank
like
God.
get it over with. Yeah.
And honestly, I was really happy they chose the way that they killed him because I said, good, now he can't come back. Don't give me
Ex-
another freaking Michael Myers. Like, my God. But
exactly.
they're gonna, I bet you they're gonna do
Exactly.
some stupid, someone's gonna do some stupid thing where he's basically gonna be like Freddy Krueger and he's gonna be in everyone's dreams and he's gonna hunt them that way. Some
I
stupid
hope
thing like
not.
that. I swear to God, I'll fight
I
everyone.
truly hope David Gordon Green's Halloween Ends is the end
The
of the
end.
Halloween franchise. I hope
Honestly,
they
they,
don't make another one.
hmm.
There's no need to make another one. I think we've had our fill of Michael Myers, Jason, Freddy. Let the past stay in the past. Come up with some new um,
Yeah, give me new ones. Give me
characters.
new
Yeah, give us
killers.
something new. Give us a new character, and I'm not talking about Terrifier.
I was gonna say, are you the clown?
No, thank you.
Hey, it's basically the same storyline. A demon that can never die.
Yeah.
No, we won't go into Terrifier, but I do agree. I want there to be a new killer who is. I'm cool with the new killer series. I would like a series again, like Halloween or
Hmm.
Freddy or Jason. And
Hmm.
I'm cool. Like, I don't. I'm cool with all that stuff. I just want it to be something new, something fresh, but not like the what's it called? A violent nature, not like that. That I think
No.
was trying to emulate this sort of kill, this sort of movie, but it was. I want like an interesting villain. I want someone. Honestly, I want more Freddy Kruegers. I like the stupid killer with some stupid lines, murdering teens. I think that's
You
fun. Maybe that's why I
think
like Terrifier a little
Terrifier.
bit. But
Yeah.
that's our
No,
Halloween opinions.
yeah, and I was just gonna say, even with Scream, unfortunately,
Oh
there's
yeah,
another
like
Scream
Scream.
coming out. So again, that's another franchise I think they should let die. It should be over. We
Yeah.
don't need it
I
anymore.
will say
They're
I at
they're
least forgive that it's always someone new.
right.
Granted, most of the time they're related in some stupid way, but I at least
Hmm.
appreciate that it's not,
It's not
oh,
the
the
same
same killer
guy.
came back.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do like that. I like that there's a little bit of a mystery to it. So I appreciate Scream. Maybe a new version of Scream with a different type of killer would be really fun.
Hmm.
Because Scream is kind of like Freddy Krueger where there's a little bit of fun to the killers once they reveal
Hmm.
themselves. I like that. But yeah, give me something like that where it's not this stupid demonic never can die 6 foot man. Give me female killers.
There you go.
There you go. Let me get some female killers out here.
Megan.
Or kids. Well, Megan's a robot.
Right.
Doesn't really count. And Freaky, she was still a man in a woman's body.
Yeah, true.
But oh well no, Happy Death Day. Female
Uh
killer.
well,
Yeah.
yeah.
Happy
Yeah.
Death Day
Yeah,
1.
you're yeah. Yeah, you're right. But she
But okay,
dies.
but
So
that's our opinions. That's our opinions of Halloween. Let us know down below if you've seen all the movies, if you want us to do an episode on any other long-standing ones like Freddy Krueger or Jason. And just make sure that you give us a like and subscribe and a follow on everything that we have down below. And hopefully we will find a movie that will just scare us already.
Bye.